Hi, hello, and welcome back to another reaction video. So let's watch this video that was actually requested by one of you guys. This one is the rise of Roman Reigns from 2010 to 2021. What happened? So yeah, without further ado, we about to hop straight into this video, y'all. So let's watch right now.
The Anoa'i family is one of the most storied families in wrestling history. From the Wild Samoans to Yokozuna and The Rock, the family has seen their fair share of top stars in the wrestling business.
I keep forgetting
to turn this. On May 25th, 1985, when Leaki Joe Anoa'i was born, you had to think that wrestling was the path that he would go down. But his interests were elsewhere. Anoa'i took on football as his key interest. His skills in football were so strong, he was available in the 2007 NFL draft, but he went undrafted. He'd later be picked up by the Minnesota Vikings and Jacksonville Jaguars before he'd make his way up north to the CFL. After a stint with the Edmonton Eskimos, it just wasn't sitting right for him. He then chose to move into the family business and become a professional wrestler. By 2010, with his family ties with The Rock and Rikishi, it helped him get signed to a developmental deal with Florida Championship Wrestling. Here he'd be renamed Roman Leaki. He made his FCW debut on August 19th, 2010. Leaki would remain in FCW, going on to win tag team titles with Tyler Breeze and even facing off against Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, his future Shield brothers. When WWE decided that NXT would be the new developmental brand, the FCW roster was merged into that new brand. In August of 2012, Leaki was repackaged into Roman Reigns. He was a dominant and physically imposing character who possessed a powerhouse aura to him. It appeared as though Reigns would have a long NXT run, especially as they had transitioned to developmental, so having a powerhouse like Reigns was the perfect combination. His run in NXT, though, wouldn't last very long. Alongside longtime indie stars Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, the group would go on to form the Shield. The premise of the Shield was three anti-establishment
Look at his attitude.
They simply said they were here to bring justice where it was needed. That all began on November 18th, 2012, in a triple threat match between John Cena, Ryback, and CM Punk. The group made their debut, putting WWE on notice. In the weeks that followed, the Shield would become an untouchable force, laying out anyone in their path. Originally, the thought was the group was working for CM
It's
Punk,
giving
but
like
that was
black,
left behind. The Shield quickly
some
took
leather,
on a life of their own.
a little bit of leather.
Being presented as a dominant force, and they lost very rarely in their initial 2-year run. The trio would normally compete in 6-man tag team matches, where Rollins and Ambrose could carry a bulk of the load, given Reigns' inexperience in the ring. Reigns was the silent assassin that fans fell in love with. Vince McMahon at this time also fell in love with him. The group's dominance would see them go 6 months undefeated. Heading into the 2013 Extreme Rules pay-per-view, Reigns won his first title. The pair of himself and Seth Rollins beat Team Hell No for the tag team championships. Elsewhere on the card, Dean Ambrose had already taken the United States Championship from Kofi Kingston. The group was on a dominant run, and WWE was giving the fans a fresh new dominant group, which they hadn't seen in a very long time. On the October 14th, 2013 episode of Raw, Reigns and Rollins would lose their tag team titles. But at this time, they'd become heavies for the Authority, only catapulting their spots on the card. It was around this time where WWE started to give us hints of a breakup. It became even more likely when Reigns eliminated Rollins and Ambrose in the 2014 Royal Rumble.
I know he was going to say that.
Reigns had a dominant performance as he eliminated 12 performers and even made it into the final 2, but he was ultimately thrown out by the winner, that being Batista. It was crazy how much the crowd wanted Reigns to win here, especially seeing how the dynamic would shift a few years later. After WrestleMania 30, the Shield turned their back on the Authority and instead soaked in the growing adulation of the fans, turning babyface for the first time in their careers. Reigns, Ambrose, and Rollins would go on to feud with the recently reformed Evolution. These 6 men would give us some amazing matches at Payback and Extreme Rules. The Shield took home both wins and even won 3-0 in an elimination match, so that looked amazing.
What the hell?
Showing that they were in good graces with the powers that be and that they had all the trust behind them. After that 3-0 win against Evolution, the next night is where it all came to an end. Seth Rollins took a steel chair to Reigns' back and ended the run for the group. Rollins would align himself with the Authority and feud with Ambrose for the majority of the year. Reigns was still good with Ambrose, but Reigns would go a different direction. His first feud away from the Shield was against Randy Orton, with Reigns taking the win over the Viper at the 2014 SummerSlam. From here, it became glaringly obvious that WWE was fast-tracking Roman Reigns to become the next megastar. It's around the latter months of 2014 where fan opinion started to change on him. I had mentioned how he was the silent assassin in the Shield, and the fans liked that, but here he was being presented as a
he should be the next Aquaman. He could play Aquaman.
Star, and he wasn't ready for it. If this had happened slowly like his Shield counterparts, it would have helped him here. Things became very messy, very quick, and that mess began at the 2015 Royal Rumble. It was clear that Reigns was being groomed to win the match and challenging Brock Lesnar for the WWE title at WrestleMania. What made it even worse was fan favorite Daniel Bryan had returned to WWE, and a large portion of the audience wanted this to be Bryan's win. When Reigns took the spotlight instead, a chorus of boos rained down in Philadelphia to the point where not even The Rock could help get Reigns over. This sort of rejection of a babyface was unseen, and with social media, even those who liked Reigns started to boo him because it was the cool thing to do. Heading into WrestleMania, things got more and more worse for Reigns. He was made to look like a dork in front of WWE audiences. This came from his delivery on promos and WWE.
That's what they did to Kurt Angle.
John Cena clone. I mean, you feed suffering succotash son to anyone, they're gonna get canceled very quick. When WrestleMania 31 hit, WWE knew that there would be a major backlash from fans if Reigns were to win here. Here, WWE made a smart move to have Seth Rollins cash in his Money in the Bank and end WrestleMania 31 with an unexpected moment. From here, fan sentiment towards Reigns just got worse. For the rest of 2015, the powers that be had to strip him away from the main event scene and have him in secondary feuds. But before the year would come to an end, WWE decided to stick with their gut and crown Reigns the new WWE Champion at Survivor Series 2015. Wow. Fearing backlash again, they had a Money in the Bank cash-in to draw sympathy towards a character which wasn't getting the loves from the fans that they had expected. 2015 ended with Vince McMahon coming back as an on-screen character to help get Reigns over. It kinda worked. I mean, when Reigns beat Sheamus for his second WWE title, the fans gave him a decent cheer. Not sure if this was because they wanted Roman to win, or they just didn't want Sheamus as the WWE champion. Now in his second run with the WWE Championship, the McMahon family would try to stack the deck further against Reigns by making him defend his title in the Royal Rumble match and starting that match at number 1. Reigns would survive near the end stages of the match, but Triple H would be the one to dethrone Reigns. The plan heading into WrestleMania 32 was to stack the deck against Roman even further and have him take on the King match. They were relentless with this push. Even when they saw WWE fans reject Reigns, they just kept pushing on with it because they were so determined to get him over. This only pissed off WWE fans even more because they were so persistent by telling us, this is the guy, so cheer for him. At WrestleMania 32, fans were not up for a Triple H and Roman Reigns match. When Reigns won his third WWE title in less than a year, fans wanted every other guy who came in contact with Reigns to beat him. He did have some solid matches with AJ Styles, and thankfully for the majority who wanted Reigns to lose the WWE title, Seth Rollins returned from a knee injury. When Rollins made his return, he was cheered because the person he was beating up was Roman, so WWE fans took Seth's side. But WWE continued to present Reigns as a face, even though it looked like the time had come to turn him. Reigns lost the WWE title at Money in the Bank 2016. He may have also lost some trust backstage as he was suspended for violating the wellness policy at this time. It was Summer 16 and WWE decided to do another brand split. Reigns was taken by Raw in the draft, but he wouldn't be immediately propelled into the main event scene. After Vince McMahon saw his plan with Reigns wasn't working and the possibility of the wellness violation, Reigns was kept away from the main event scene. He would instead spend the remainder of the year in the mid-card feuding for the United States title as WWE wanted to cool his momentum before they tried again. This try would come in the form of a huge match against The Undertaker. Reigns eliminated Undertaker in the 2017 Royal Rumble, which led to Taker and Reigns main eventing WrestleMania and fighting over yards and dogs and Clearly, WWE wanted to keep Reigns in top feuds, even if that meant him not winning titles. but this didn't do anyone any favors. The match was slow, and what didn't help was the aging Taker just couldn't keep up with Reigns.
Yeah.
Reigns became only the second man ever to beat the Phenom at the Showcase of the Immortals, and he had seemingly retired him too. The next night when he came out to proclaim WWE as his yard, this guy was met with some Attitude Era level heat. The company had just made the guy who they wanted to push as the new head of the industry into an even more hated character. Reigns remained in the main event scene through 2017, but would lose time and time again. WWE even put on a WrestleMania-worthy program between John Cena and Roman Reigns heading into No Mercy 2017. In a promo beforehand, Cena bashed into Reigns, and he basically addressed all the frustration fans had against him. Cena said Reigns was a bootleg copy of John Cena. He said Reigns was the reason Cena had to come back time and time again, and in the ultimate mic drop, he said that Reigns should be ashamed Cena's a part.
A bootleg copy of John Cena. That's the craziest insult ever. It's one thing for like a fan to say that to you, but like for the actual person to say that to you, ooh,
timer, because he could do this part-time better than Reigns could ever do it full-time. Reigns beat Cena at No Mercy in what looked like a passing of the torch moment, but WWE fans, they saw right through it. WWE fans just couldn't warm up to the guy. The only option left was a Shield reunion, and that's the route they took. After a brief stint with Rollins and Ambrose, WWE went back to pushing Reigns as a singles competitor towards WrestleMania 34. Reigns would face Lesnar for the Universal Championship in the main event of the show, but he would shockingly go on to lose. He did get his revenge at SummerSlam of that year, winning the Universal title for the first time.
It looked like his back was like cut open.
It was a very emotional situation. Reigns came out to address the WWE Universe, telling them that he was re-diagnosed with leukemia. He vacated the Universal title and said his future looked up in the air. The moment put professional wrestling in the back and focused on the human aspect of Roman, as he told everyone his real name was Joe. He said one day he would be back to reclaim what was his, but he didn't know when.
Oh, Joe Schmo. It's just a regular Joe.
You could say it was in pity, but he had taken one of the most despised characters and have him win over a majority of the fans with his real life story. It was uncertain.
Yeah, that made him very human, for sure.
Quickly.
Okay, titties.
In February of 2019, Reigns came back to announce that he was in remission. This was followed with a final Shield reunion before Dean Ambrose left the company, and now it looked like the guy who they had tried so hard to make their top star would remain a babyface for years to come, even though reactions to Reigns were lukewarm at best. After a return win at WrestleMania 35 against Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns was moved to SmackDown. And after a very boring feud against Shane McMahon, fans started to turn their backs on the big dog once again. Fighting with Baron Corbin over if Reigns was an actual dog didn't really help much either. Thankfully, Reigns and Corbin went their separate ways, and it was time for WrestleMania 36. It was around this time that the world decided it wasn't going to cooperate and a global pandemic broke out. As a result, Reigns removed himself from WrestleMania. The plan heading into the show was to have Reigns take on Goldberg for the Universal Championship. As Reigns was immunocompromised, he pulled himself away from the show and would go on a 5-month hiatus. That 5-month hiatus may have been the greatest move in Roman Reigns' professional wrestling career. Reigns returned from physique, which made him look more dominant. His mannerisms in his return suggested that he had finally turned heel, and this was proven true when he aligned himself with Paul Heyman, and he's been untouchable ever since. After SummerSlam, a triple threat match was made between The Fiend, Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Reigns didn't sign the contract for the match until the latter stages of the match, came in, scooped up the dub, and the Universal Championship. A championship, mind you, that had been a laughingstock. For most of its lineage, this title was held by part-timers, had pretty bad title runs attached to it, and some horrible booking decisions made as well. He crowned himself Universal Champion, and he hasn't looked back since. He proclaimed himself as the Tribal Chief, basically saying that he was the final boss and the reason that WWE employees had food on the table. He was the main event, he was the merchandise, and he was the best in the business. The first order of business for the self-proclaimed head of the table was an amazing feud with his cousin Jey Uso. After Uso won a fatal 4-way #1 contenders match, most of us thought it was a pretty weird way to kick off Reigns' return to the company. But man, were we ever proved wrong. Jey Uso and Roman Reigns told the story of their Samoan heritage and the high standard that Reigns was held in. Reigns said that he had a legacy to uphold, and going through Jey Uso was nothing more than that. It wasn't personal, but it was about showing Uso that the family runs because of Roman Reigns. Over the course of the rivalry, we saw Reigns get more methodical in his mannerisms, and his heel turn was in full swing. Everything from the way he spoke to his slow entrance, and even some minor changes in his moveset only added to the depth of his character. He completely transformed his character and added in elements which only made him stronger. At Clash of Champions, it was a straight beatdown of Jey Uso. When Jey did get his offense in, Roman went to low ball tactics, or literally low blows. Once the beatdown got to uncomfortable levels, Jey's brother came in, threw in the towel to save his brother, and that's it. That's how it ended. It was so bad of a beatdown that someone else had to come end the match.
Damn, where was he during that hiatus? In the hyperbolic chamber?
The tribal chief. After a strong match at Clash of Champions, Jey Uso and Roman Reigns would face off inside Hell in a Cell in an I Quit match. Reigns couldn't settle for the fact that he wasn't acknowledged as the head of the table. At Hell in a Cell, the match was very uneasy. Reigns was reluctant to hurt his own blood at first, but after Uso didn't stay down, he got more and more vicious towards the end of the match. Near the end of the match, Reigns took the officials out of the match and was standing over Jey, ready to drop steel steps on him. As Jimmy Uso comes down to cradle his brother, Reigns falls to the mat. Uso tells Reigns to remember who is laying on the mat and that this was a family member.
He was
After
going
that, Reigns
nuts.
says, "I don't even remember who I am anymore," and he starts to shed a tear. As Jimmy reaches for Reigns to shake hands, Reigns puts him in a guillotine and Jey has to quit, all to save his brother. This match was storytelling at its finest. It's pretty weird to think how Jey Uso was in one of the best matches of 2020. This match had storytelling, physicality, and emotion. Everything sports entertainment should be.
I just got
Reigns' verbal jabs throughout the match only made the match more uneasy, and I'd say it made it more appealing. His character had completely changed, and he was someone not to be messed with. Reigns had finally arrived. Reigns was now the bona fide superstar the company always wanted him to be. After the match, Jey Uso joined forces with Roman Reigns, and he single-handedly changed the trajectory of his career. Reigns is in a position where he elevates everyone he works with, win or loss. Reigns is the focal point of WWE. Everything he does makes you want more. When you leave the consumer wanting more, you're building up your product correctly. For a guy who most of us wanted to shut up a few years ago, now we wait for his every word. Feuds with Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Daniel Bryan, and Edge have only further solidified his amazing talent and abilities. The dynamic of heels and babyfaces have been thrown away in recent years, but Reigns feels like a true mega heel and possesses an aura around him which no one else in the company has. Overall, it's a weird arc for Roman Reigns. Kinda a rise and fall and rise again, if you will. This guy went from someone who people were clamoring to see succeed. When that success came to him a bit too quick, fans turned their back on him, and rightfully so. It would have worked better if it came slowly, but I feel like we can look back at that period in Roman Reigns' career as a time for growth. When people called him out in certain aspects, he improved those. He showed a willingness to adapt. I mean, if your boss tells you to go out there and win, you're not going to tell him no. After the years of hate and negative fan reaction, a break was needed. Once he came back, he gave fans exactly what they wanted to see from him, and that was a rejuvenated character. They wanted to see what Roman Reigns could bring to the table, and they have had that on full display. He now commands the show on his own. He is that guy. The character transformation has been amazing, and he will go down as the biggest superstar of this generation in WWE, whether you like it or not. The possibility for mega matches are there too, which will only further cement him in the annals of WWE. So when you look at the career of Roman Reigns, I think it's safe to say it hasn't been the smoothest ride, but it's been one where we've experienced it with him. I think we can safely say Reigns has swayed a lot of opinion of him into the other direction. His career trajectory is still nuts, considering we're still at the opening stages of what could be an amazing run of dominance and one of the most legendary careers in WWE. This man is the show. This man is WWE today. And this man is the head of the table.
Bro, this man is literally television gold, TV gold. Like I said this before, the reason why I fell in love with wrestling in the first place when I was little was the storylines. It was always the storylines for me. The matches were good. Yes, I love the matches. The matches always, but the storylines, you get a little bit of comedy, you get a little bit of drama, you get a little bit of emotion. Like, it was always so good. And this just shows me that WWE still has it when it comes to their stories and their characters. And that's another thing too, like the characters, oh my god, the different personalities are so crazy. And this video alone just showed me that with Roman Reigns, that they still have it with the characters. Now, of course, you know, some of it is still some realness in there, just like with the Kurt Angle video. When I watch like his timeline or, you know, behind the scenes stories or whatever, with his divorce and stuff like that, they always, of course, they sprinkle in like some real shit that's going on with the wrestlers. But of course, they always gotta add, like, you know, they gotta up it, I guess, to make it, you know, entertaining, you know, fantasy, I guess. But yeah, bro, like he would totally make me start watching wrestling again. Like, that is crazy. His story is in freaking insane. And I did not know that he started out with so much, like, you know, hate and backlash. But of course, I've only been doing, like, you know, little reactions here and there. So I don't even know much about him or like these new, you know, the new generation of wrestlers. But he would totally make me watch again because, dog, I love the stories, bro. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And I will see y'all in the next one.